I want to. This in a way, in a very, I mean, there's a couple of like odd connections about what we're about to talk about next. It's way less important, but we have tabloid, we have people believing wild nonsense, and we have New York. So I want to play a brief clip just to set this up. I don't know if people remember 4 months ago, the head of the Gambino crime family was assassinated in Staten Island. Brooke, I feel a little bit guilty to admit this. Look, I don't want there to be violence. I don't want people to be hurt. But as somebody who reads a lot of books about Colombian drug cartels, the mafia, I was like, oh, wow. It's like, is a new war about to happen in New York City? I was thinking of a lot of like comedic scenarios of like a hit in front of like an acupuncture clinic, you know? But
I feel like I'm always, those kind of things, I'm like afraid to be reading them. Like,
wait, why are you afraid to be reading them? Why?
Like, afraid to read them, afraid to like tweet about El Chapo, afraid to be caught reading them. I don't want anything to do with it.
El Chapo. Some guy in Guadalajara is like, no, that chick on TYT is too smart.
Well, Michael was afraid to watch JFK by Oliver Stone.
That's a post-game story, my friends. Like Matt, Brooke, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to pretend nobody else is watching or listening, even though a lot of people are. Matt is telling a private drug story from when I was like 15 years old to dunk on me, just so we're clear about what's going on. It's actually exactly what I would do, frankly. I'll just say I took mushrooms. I was 14 or 15. I had to go home, and my parents were asleep, and I was really into the movie JFK at the time, the Oliver Stone movie, which does not hold up well. I put that on, and 15 minutes into the movie, Brooke, I thought, because I was in that state, that the movie was part of the conspiracy. And what happened is if you watch the movie, the CIA knew you needed to be taken out. So I crawled to turn it off so someone didn't snipe me through the window. So I get it. Maybe we shouldn't even be talking about this. No, but let me play this. I want to set this segment up for us. We're going to play a brief news report about this, and then I'm going to throw it to you, Brooke, because don't worry. This is about, we're really talking about QAnon. We're in no way disrespecting the Gambino family. In fact, you'll feel bad for the boss of the Gambino family. He got killed for doing the most righteous thing he's ever done in his life. All right, let's watch this.
Camelo faces murder, assault, and weapon possession charges in the death of reputed Gambino family boss Francesco Frankie Boy Cali. High-power lawyer Robert Gottlieb is his defense attorney.
The issue of safety for Mr. Camelo while he's imprisoned is real.
At his last
hear that, Brooke?
hearing,
it's real.
Camelo flashed his hand at reporters, scrawled with pro-Trump messages, writing on his hand with blue ink, MAGA forever, and a large Q.
That was real. That was what he wanted to express that date.
Additionally, the NYPD said their officers had come into contact with Camelo twice in February, once at a New York courthouse where he told officers he wanted to make a citizen's arrest of Congresswoman Maxine Waters and Congressman Adam Schiff, both Democrats, and a day later at Gracie Mansion where he told officers he was there to arrest Mayor Bill de Blasio. Gottlieb wouldn't clarify what his client's recent changes in behavior had to do with Cali's death.
Brooke, what do you, and again, all respect to the five families, but Brooke, what do you think of this?
First of all, my name is no longer Brooke while we're doing this story.
Excuse me.
No,
anonymous guest one.
There was another part of that that is really scary. Just thinking about the fact that this man actually was so wrapped up in this love for Donald Trump and willing to just do anything, throw out all logic, that he walked up to who he knew was his mob boss, to his house, to his personal home, and knocked on the door and asked him to come outside. And at some point, somehow, he pulled a gun and shot the man. But thinking about how that went down and how at least from his attorneys, He wanted to make a citizen's arrest and turn this man into the military for Trump, right? He also wanted to do that to the Honorable Congresswoman Maxine Waters. And that scares me because I know there are a lot of threats against her constantly, and just how this went wrong, it worries me about, like, if he had gotten too close to her and how,
Right.
this is all wild and crazy. And then you think about how much scarier it could have been, and that how there are people in 2019 walking around willing to do stuff like this, and their president generally calls them good people.
Well, not only good people, I can imagine Trump, like, because, I think we know that Trump dealt with people like this in the 80s and the 90s. Imagine Trump would be like, I had no idea. If you could just convince them of QAnon, I could have dealt with all of my labor disputes.
Something you said earlier, you were talking about.
He had no idea. His whole building process could have been easier if Alex Jones was alive.
Exactly. The man likes attention. He likes attention. There was something at the beginning of that about threats on his life. If you were his brother, would you move?
Definitely.
100%.
100%. I mean,
find me in London.
100%. Oh no, not somewhere that people don't go for fun. And what I had actually heard though, did you hear that? Yes, he had this whole list of people because he's obviously out of his mind, but that specifically he was upset at Callie because Callie told him to stay away from his niece, which is why I was saying this guy could have been killed for being like a nice uncle after all the other things he did in his life.
Yeah. After everything, right? Ugh.
Do you get, as like a final question, I'm just kind of curious. I mean, the QAnon stuff is like, I'll have right-wing people, like particularly kind of like, twerpy IDW people will bother me, like Ben Shapiro people, whatever. I don't really see QAnon stuff that much like in my timelines or my world, but clearly it's a really big thing. Do you like see it out there, or do you have to actually like read about it and learn about it?
I don't see it out there. And the reason we don't see it is because it doesn't make enough sense to formulate a complete sentence.
Right. You don't want JFK Jr. to still be alive?
Wait. Oh my goodness. It's so weird, right?
It's very
so weird. These people are serious. I never want to be trapped in that side of Twitter. And never.
Neither do I. We'll never do another segment on the mafia or QAnon again.
What's the mafia?
Brooke Thomas, I really, really appreciate you doing this. This is awesome. We'll definitely have to have you on again soon if you can. Check out all of Brooke's work. She's a TV host, an anchor, and of course, she is a part of our friends, the Young Turks. Brooke, thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Awesome. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right, folks. I still can't get over that story, honestly. I know like one time Felix and I were supposed to talk about it, but he is in jail or in court after assassinating the head of the Gambinos, doing this Q nonsense. It's so bizarre. It's so like, it is like an times dilated, to be fair to Mike Cernovich, is just the stupid way of saying what Adam Curtis says in all of his documentaries, though, in a way.
Right.
Like, time is getting dilated.
It's weird because I think the internet exists, but I also think, like, when you look at the history of people who've taken shots at political leaders, for instance, they have some weird causes themselves.
That's
actually
very true. That is very true. Well, to be actually pushed to that, you probably have to be pretty by a thread.
But I think the weirder thing about the QAnon thing is how popular it is. Honestly, like,
and particularly boomers, right?
If you go on like Trump's Twitter, oftentimes I was screenshotting it the other day. Maybe I'll find him later. It's just like, account after account going on about this. So it's a pretty wide conspiracy theory, unlike the other ones, which are, a little bit more contained.
Right. Well, I love the Mueller is secretly working with Trump one. You've just watched a Michael Brooks show video, and you can watch all of our full main live shows every Tuesday night at around 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and subscribe to get all of the clips you want. We're covering the globe. We're focusing on international relations, the intellectual dark web. We're having fun. We're doing deep dives with a lot of amazing guests. Of course, become a patron for the whole thing at patreon.com/TMBS, or subscribe to this YouTube channel and help us keep growing and get that content out there. Subscribe below.